I'm sorry, that was really harsh of me. I'm sorry. Chapter 19. Headquarters story. I'm not doing that, don't worry. By 6 o'clock in the evening, the workers' propaganda team command post was in pandemonium. It had been set up in a photography shop near the family quarters. News of the clashes and the casualties flowed in by messenger. Distraught people came running from all parts of the campus, out of breath, weeping, covered with mud, ink, and blood. Showing their wounds and their bruises, they demanded help, more forces, ambulances, and they demanded retaliation. There are so many workers out there, bleeding and dying. Can we just let them stab us and blast us and blast us and stab us again? Lu Fengjun, who worked together with Zhang Rongwan, had manned the headquarters on that fateful day, told us, told us what it was like to face the aroused workers in this unprecedented crisis. Once again. The workers are aroused again, apparently. Lu Fengjun was tall and lean like a northerner, but had the dark olive skin of a southerner and more stubble on his clean-shaven face than is usual in China. Thanks for the description. He seemed the very model of an army commander. Even in the hottest part of the day, when the sweat ran down one's body in rivulets, he never removed his army jacket or his red-starred cap, for this was a part of army discipline. At first glance, his severe countenance seemed to match this unshakably correct behavior. I remember wondering how such a formal, impressive military man could ever unbend enough to tell us the kind of details we wanted to know. But I was quite wrong about Comrade Lu. After very little of the rhetorical introduction with which so many revolutionary Chinese begin their story, he launched into the most vivid description of the confrontation between the students and the workers' propaganda team, including many details, such as the fact that Little Bear dangled her noodles and Bear wore no shirt, that made the whole ghastly night come alive. Remember the dangling of the noodles? Do you remember? Shall I recreate again Little Bear's dangling of her noodles? Okay, she's hanging out the fucking window. Okay, she's got her bowl of noodles and she's like lifting them up and then slurping them down dramatically in front of all the workers down below who haven't had anything to eat in a long time. Yeah, I remember. Oh, I remember. How could we forget? Oh, Lu Fengjun turned out to be a most sympathetic and observant informant. You can imagine the situation, said Lu, warming to the tale. Some hotheads wanted to strike back. I got very angry myself. As the reports flowed in, hey, Little Bear sounds spicy. I kind of want to meet Little Bear. I don't know if she's still alive, though. This was a long time ago. Let's see here. I mean, she would have been in like around 20 years old, maybe. Maybe? It depends on, I don't know how old she was, or maybe around 20. In 1968, I had to think about how long that was ago. That was almost 1970, so that was only 30 years ago. I'm kidding. I'm sorry, but that was actually 55 years ago that we're talking about all this. Oh god. Fuck. So she's like 75 now. Yeah, she might be still alive. Anyway. So anyway, Lu gets very angry. As the reports flowed in of more wounded and more killed, I cursed and pounded my fist on the table. What's a Chinese curse word? I don't know any. Shit. Fuck. I don't know. But in the end, I still had to calm down, because we had come for propaganda work, not for fighting, and if we leaders lost our heads, the whole situation could have gotten out of hand. We had to remain cool. One wrong word could have cost many lives. One wrong word could have led to disaster. Bloody incidents were swirling all around us, but we had to stick to one idea and one idea only. Use reason, not violence. Use reason, not violence. Some of us had directed battles in wartime, but never had we seen anything like this. Never. Never anything to inflame the emotions like this. Zhang Rongwan was magnificent. I remember him so clearly. Fat, soaked with sweat, ravenous for food, but calm, sitting there quietly, repeating over and over, use reason, not violence. Korean curse words are grunts. Prove it. I just go, is that a, did I just say your mother is a whore in Korean? Somehow I doubt that. Somehow. We had had nothing to eat since 3 a.m. and we hadn't slept for 2 days. It was hot, stifling in our crowded headquarters. No order anywhere. Originally, the messengers stood in line to take turns, but now they just came crowding in, each with worse news than the last. More wounded, more killed. It was enough to confuse anyone's mind. I was so tired, I just leaned against the wall with my eyes half closed, and even before people finished what they had to say... sorry. I interrupted. No violence, use reason. Do your propaganda work well. I don't know how to fake snore. How do I fake snore? How do I snore? What does snoring sound like? I don't know what snoring sounds like. Hold on. Never mind. I don't know how to do this. Okay. Anyway, what we depended on, really, was the workers' loyalty to Mao Zedong. They had a deep understanding of Mao's strategic plan. No, it's more like these growls, grunts, etc. They're treated the same style as disrespect as the discrete words we use in English. Oh, okay. Interesting. There's lots of snoring sounds. Okay, well, I can't think of any right now, so... let's see here. What we depended on, really, was the workers' loyalty to Mao Zedong. They had a deep understanding of Mao's strategic plan. With 30,000 people, one can't rely on the consciousness of a few, for there are always those who have lost contact with headquarters. They still have to stick to their orders, no matter what the provocation. And they stuck, in the main, throughout that terrible day and night. They didn't strike back. They didn't counterattack, and that's because we had done a lot of educational work. Together, we had studied the PLA's 5 won'ts policy over and over again. The 5 won'ts, it gives 2 of them. When hit, don't hit back. When cursed, don't curse back. Those are the first 2 of the 5 won'ts. Oh boy. Okay then. And throughout the whole day and night, the educational work continued. Our throats were parched and our mouths were dry, but this was Mao Zedong thought, and we stuck to it. At one point, we called an emergency meeting of the leaders from each column, reaffirmed our policy, and sent them back to remind everyone else. We repeated over and over that the students had been deceived, that they had been misled, and that they had to be awakened, and the workers, who had themselves been through factional struggle, understood and didn't blame the students even when they came at them with spears. There was only one serious break in our ranks. When the fighting first began, one group of men got angry. They went home to make some spears out of pipe. They found helmets and sticks and returned in their trucks in the early morning hours of July 28th. Truckloads full of men ready to strike back. But as they approached the west gate, other workers saw them and reported to us. We understood what was in their minds. They were very, very angry. They had some ultra-left thinking too, and lots of pride and daring. They were aching to go on the offensive. So we took emergency measures. We called their leaders into the headquarters and sent cadres out to speak to the rank and file. At first, they wouldn't listen to reason. They kept saying, "Our comrades have been wounded. Our comrades have been killed." But we talked to them for several hours, and finally they went back to reorganize themselves. They returned later without weapons and helped resolve the problem our way. Of course, I can't say that none of the workers broke discipline. A few individuals did grab a few students here and there and even struck a few blows, but these incidents were few and far between, because everyone in the vicinity raised an outcry and said it was not right. There was also one worker from one of the factories where the big alliance was not really solid, who sent information to Kwai that was of great help to him. This worker belonged to one of the factions that had strong ties to the regiment, one of the Heaven factions. He supported Kwai politically, and he ran to Kwai with his message. After he ran to Kwai, his workmates criticized him severely, but his anti-working class act later helped them expose and solve the factionalism in their plant. So a bad thing turned into a good one. Lu Fengzheng went on to tell us how his headquarters was first established right out in the open at the northern edge of the family quarters on a stone platform that had traditionally been used by chess players. 2 red flags were planted beside it to let everyone know where the commanders could be found. The trouble was that the regiment rods in the first classroom building could also see the spot and recognized it as the command headquarters by all the commotion. The arrivals and departures, the vehicles and the messengers. When messengers went out, they were trailed and kidnapped. After that, messages had to be sent in code. The code proved to the various column leaders and the messenger was indeed from the propaganda team and not some student in disguise. Every messenger, of course, ran some risk. None of them knew the campus too well. If they wandered about too long, they were apt to be seized, but there was no way to contact the column except by messenger. Kwai had ordered all telephone lines cut. That ended communication both inside the campus and between the campus and the city, except, of course, for the concealed lines that Kwai kept open for his own use. You know what? I wonder if... Hold on. I want to check something. Hold on. God, I can't type today. I could do anything today, y'all. What the fuck? Okay, images. Images, and I want more. I want like the oldest images you can find of this fucking. Okay, y'all. I have found something very helpful. You know how last stream we spent like 20 minutes or something trying to figure out how the university lined up with the current, or like the university plan from back then lined up with the current layout of the university? Well, guess what? I just found a layout plan from 1960. Look at this. An actual plan. This is so much more helpful than the one drawn at the beginning of the book. Sorry, Bill. This one is more helpful. Oh boy. Let me hold on, let me try something. I want to find more, if possible, like older photos or something. I don't know if they exist. Oh, I might have found something, y'all. So the west gate of the university still exists, by the way. No need to hurt Bill's feelings. So this is what happened to the west gate of the university. They did fix it. This is here's the current. They fixed it, y'all. They fixed it. So anyway, here I'm so glad we actually managed to find some photos from this era. Okay, that's good. So anyway, here we go. Now, do we have a little bit of a better illustration now? Okay. This is a little bit better. So anyway, here's the Mao statue. The Mao that Mao didn't like. I'm standing out there all alone in the cold and the rain. boy. Yeah, that's the current gate. If only I can find even more photos. It's really hard to find old photos. I don't know how to search for old photos specifically. I found another old layout map. And I have like the current layout map. Maybe if it can please plus. Okay, can Statue Mao get some statue friends? He doesn't want statue friends, he just wants the statues taken down. So this is a really shitty photo, but this is an old layout photo. So here's the central oval that we keep talking about, by the way. It's way over here, right? And this is the meeting hall, which is that, maybe let me find a photo of it. It's like, it has this dome on it. It's shown as just like a circle on the map in the beginning of the, but this is the building that we're talking about. Okay, that's the meeting hall, which helps a lot because we can now easily situate this on Google Earth. Much better than before. Shall we figure this out now, this time? Beijing. Right, northwest side. Where are we? That's the airport. That's one of the airports. Where the fuck is the university? It's over here somewhere. We'll find it eventually. If you see it, point it out. Where are we? Too far north? No, this is it right here. Okay, we found it. So this, where the fuck is the meeting hall, y'all? We're looking for that circular building. Or circular domed building. If you see it anywhere. Like, we're probably supposed to be looking over here, right? But it's not over here. But the building still exists, so it shouldn't be that hard to find. But where the fuck is it? It's not this. Oh wait, is this it right here? No, that's not it. That's not it at all. That's a different circular domed building. I don't know what that is. That's something. Y'all, where the fuck is this building? Wait, oh, it's way over here. It's tiny, y'all. There we go. This is the central oval. This is it. This is what we've been talking about the whole time when we say the central oval. Not way over here with like the modern, like, big central area looking place. It's over here. Found it. This is so much more helpful. Okay, so where is this? Here's the stream, by the way. We found it. Look, here's the river that we were trying to find. We found it, y'all. It took us this long to figure this out. Okay, so this is much more helpful. Where's the western gate of the university anyway? Over here, I guess? Somewhere over here. Is this it right here? There's no street view. No, there's no street view. I think it's right here. Anyway, maybe, I don't know, or something like that. Maybe I'm wrong. But anyway, yeah, this is the area that we've been mainly, that everything is centered around here, okay? So now we can compare this back to the map from the book. Okay. Again, like we did last time. Where are we on? Page 338. Okay. Try to remember that. So here's the map. Let's it's a very simplified map, which didn't help. Here's the map, y'all. So let's zoom in. Okay. So this is number 7 on the map over here. That's the circular building, and this building here is the is this, except it's like not drawn very well. And then there's building 17 over here. That's what is that? The old generator building. This is the architectural engineering building, or at least it was the architectural engineering building. Here, look, you can see it kind of has this angled thing going on here. Okay, okay. And then they tried to make a tunnel to escape from this science building to somewhere else. Was this the science building right here? This one, I think. And then they tried to escape over to a building. This is now like a parking garage, but like there was a building over here, I guess. And then there's this building, number 22. Which one is the science building? Hold on. Is 16 the science building? No, that's the first classroom building, sorry. That's the regiment's headquarters, right? The first classroom building? I can't remember. And then a tunnel. Yeah, they tried to build a tunnel to escape from the science building. Wait, is 13 is the science building? Never mind, they tried to escape from something else. My bad. Oh, no, the science building is... The hell? 14 is the second classroom building. Over here. This building right here. The 4s tried to dig a tunnel from here all the way down to this building down here, number 22, the agricultural engineering building. They tried to dig a tunnel from here to here. Okay? And then the 4s, or the regiment, dug their own tunnel from here to intersect this tunnel, so that, and then they collapsed the tunnel while they were trying to dig it to escape from this building here. This is the building that they, or wait, no, number 13, the science building up here. This is the one that the regiment tried to burn down while some of the 4s were inside, I believe, if I remember correctly, the science building. So anyway, yeah, this is very helpful. Now we have the actual, we know what these buildings actually look like. And then it looks like, I don't know what's over here, but this looks not at all like maybe we're actually way over here. We might be this road here might actually be over here. I'm not sure, because I'm missing these don't appear to be on our little map. I think it skips all the way over to here. Like this might be the building labeled as 11. And then I guess 15, what is 15? House A. Yeah, 15 is House A. That must be over here, I think. I mean, it's either over here or it's over here? I don't know. House A was like the old, the house where like the university president would live or whatever before they got rid of that. Okay. We're starting to make sense of things, and here's the stream. It's not nearly as straight as the map over here suggests. It doesn't. It's a little bit curvy over here. Okay. Okay. So this helps a lot, y'all. This helps a lot. Okay. So anyway, let's get back to our. Were we on 388 or 338? Okay, so anyway. Oh boy. So yeah, the headquarters. I will actually leave that section into the highlight this time, by the way, since we actually managed to find what we're talking about. Alright, so Every messenger, of course, ran some risk. None of them knew the campus too well. If they wandered about too long, they were apt to be seized, but there was no way to contact the column except by messenger. Kauai had ordered all telephone lines cut. That ended communication both inside the campus and between the campus and the city, except, of course, for the concealed lines that Kauai kept open for his own use. Of course. Command headquarters arrived with telephone equipment, but couldn't find anything to hook into. Finally, someone discovered a live line that Kauai's men had overlooked in the photography shop. So headquarters was immediately moved from the outdoor chess block to the vacant shop. There, behind the counter where film had once been sold, Liu and Zhang stood and listened to the reports as they poured in. First, the rout in front of the meeting hall, then the confrontation at the first classroom building, and finally the macabre clashes at dormitory number 10. When Liu and Zhang learned that 3 people had been killed, they contacted Kauai and asked for talks. By that time, Kauai had returned from the city and has conferenced with Liu Feng. He also wanted to talk. A meeting was arranged at the Tsinghua Middle School on the far northern edge of the grounds. Zhang Shizhong of the 83rd 41st Army or whatever, Shi Jingqing of Xinhua Printing, that was not easy, a comrade from the Beijing Gear Factory and a comrade from the Beijing Garrison Command met with Kauai there. A 5-point ceasefire agreement was soon worked out. Ceasefire, turn in all weapons, remove all obstruction, form a big alliance, and cooperate with the workers' propaganda team. But for more than an hour, Kauai refused to sign. He insisted on a stipulation that his headquarters committee concur before the agreement could be broadcast. The propaganda team negotiators finally accepted this stipulation. Then Kauai, the 2 officers, and the gear factory worker went to the Bright House to convince the headquarters committee. There, in the building that housed the regiment's broadcasting station, Kauai tricked them. The 3 team members were held in a second-story room under guard, while Kauai pretended to act as a go-between, holding discussions in the broadcasting room, then returning to the captive negotiators to report stumbling blocks and unavoidable delays. Even if the negotiators had evaded their guards, they could not have gone far. The Bright House was equipped with electronically controlled steel doors that only insiders knew how to operate. Actually, Kauai was playing for time. He had decided on a general withdrawal and was busy making the arrangements while pretending that his headquarters committee had not agreed to stop the fighting. On the one hand, Kauai planned to have most of his fighting units off the campus before dawn, thus presenting the workers' propaganda team with an empty city. On the other hand, Kauai sent a special fighting team to surround building number 9003 in the dark. At an appropriate time, that was the old generator building, I think? 9003. At an appropriate time, one less counterattack would be launched. Since the propaganda team had come to stop the fighting and bring the factions together, the empty city could be called a victory of sorts for the regiment. Kauai's forces, though geographically dispersed, could be said to be politically alive. As long as the mountain is green, fear not for lack of fuel, was the slogan taken from an ancient text. This meant, as long as there are forces in being, one can make a comeback, however long it may take. Launching one last counterattack while his main force retreated was a desperate attempt to provoke the kind of violent retaliation from the workers and soldiers that previous incidents had failed to generate. If only Kauai and his rods could trick or force the propaganda team into a bloody assault on the students, they could go before the country as innocent victims of violent repression, and perhaps salvage something politically from an increasingly disastrous situation. Innocent victims. Murderers, but sure, totally innocent. Ahem. As things stood at midnight on July 27th, 3 workers dead and hundreds of workers and soldiers wounded, while the students maneuvered unscathed, it was quite clear to all observers that the campus invaders had carried out Mao Zedong thought while the defenders had wildly violated it. Unless something could be done to redress this balance, the regiment would find it hard to maintain any semblance of a reputation as fighters for Mao Zedong's line. As a means of redress, Kauai gambled on one final provocation, which, if it failed, could only make the situation that much worse. Once he had made this reckless decision, Kauai developed both sides of his strategy with precision. While he personally stalled the propaganda team negotiators, orders went out to all the main units to evacuate their fortresses and retreat with their arms, either to the Aeronautical Institute to the south or to the Nankou camps of Tsinghua near the Great Wall to the north. Once the stealthy evacuation was well underway, Kauai's special fighting team, the Red Spears, secretly surrounded Machinery Building number 9003 with orders to attack at 1:30 a.m. When concerned aides pointed out to Kauai that this team could no longer be called back in case of a ceasefire agreement, he said, "Never mind, let them go," and calmly returned to the negotiating table, where he suddenly dropped all previous objections and accepted a ceasefire on terms set by the workers' propaganda team. The agreement was announced to the whole campus from the broadcast room of the Bright House at 2 a.m., half an hour too late to forestall the Red Spears. In compliance with their orders, they had already launched the last bloody provocation of that fateful night. With his armed column already in motion, Kauai laid the groundwork for a simultaneous political offensive. Wish the People's Vanguard disciplining the mass line from above because we know better than you, Kauai here. Oh yeah, he really does think he's the Vanguard, doesn't he? With his armed column already in motion, Kauai laid the groundwork for a simultaneous political offensive by drafting an urgent telegram to Chairman Mao and the Central Committee, which read as follows. Of course he goes crying off to Mao. "I'm sorry I murdered a bunch of people, but like they were shouting really mean things at me, like telling me not to use violence. You know, they deserved it, obviously." Does that sound familiar to anyone? Hold on. Can we get a picture of this fucker? Surely there's a photo of this guy. No? Oh, come on, there's gotta be a photo of this guy. Oh, I found him. I found a tiny photo of him. There might be other photos of him too, but I found one. In his natural habitat, speaking to a bunch of angry students. Here he is. This is the guy. This is our murderer extraordinaire over here. Wannabe Vanguard fucker. Okay. So, extremely urgent. Chairman Mao Zedong, Vice Chairman Lin Biao, and Central Committee of the Chinese Communist Party, the Central Cultural Revolution Group, the Military Commission of the Central Committee, Premier Zhou Enlai, Comrades Chen Boda, Kong Sheng, Jiang Qing. On July 27th, in the name of propagating the July Third Order, 110,000 hoodwinked workers, under the careful manipulation of a sinister hand, suddenly surrounded and overwhelmed the Tsinghua campus with arms. Does this guy sound familiar to anyone? Oh. Dozens of Jinggangshan fighters have been captured and held. Several hundred have been wounded or brutally beaten. In order to avoid their further clashes, our Jinggangshan fighters have all withdrawn from the campus. We have no food or clothes and no guarantee of our lives. Tsinghua Jinggangshan is threatened by extreme danger. The situation is 10,000 times perilous. 10,000. Great. You know when somebody breaks out the 10,000 that they're getting really serious, right? He doesn't want to be just like Mao, though. He doesn't. I appeal for help to the Central Committee. I appeal for help to Chairman Mao Zedong. I beg the Central Committee to receive Kauai immediately. Machinery Building number 9003 had been surrounded by the previous morning by Column 6, the chemical workers. During the day, their propaganda efforts had been crowned with success. After prying welded steel plates off the doors of the building, they had persuaded most of the occupants to come out and talk. They had also searched the building and removed large quantities of arms. Then the afternoon rain had driven the propaganda team members and the students back into the building. Study classes had been set up and discussions began. Some students listened sympathetically to the workers while others talked back sharply. At 9 a.m., all electricity was cut off, ending both the water supply and the lights. At 10 a.m., a worker came to report that ceasefire negotiations had been successful, but no announcement came through the air. Suddenly, at 1:30, the building was lit up from the outside by the lights of dozens of trucks. They had been turned on by members of the Red Spear fighting team and were the signal for attack. As the lights went on, the main forces of the Red Spear fighting team charged out of the cornfield where they had been lying low. The male Red Spears had all stripped to the waist, but each had a white towel wrapped around his arms so that he could be distinguished by his comrades in the dark. They ran in the building, yelling incoherent battle cries that were supposed to frighten their victims, but seemed to those who heard them to indicate that they themselves were frightened. The propaganda team members retreated to the 4th floor, only to be followed there. The truck lights made the outside of the building bright, but inside it was still too dark for fighting. The Red Spears poured machine oil on the floor of the west end and lit it. Then they twisted paper into rolls, soaked them in oil, and lit them. Under the light of these flaming, smoking torches, they pushed tables ahead of them down the hall, hoping to corner all the workers in one spot. Okay, oh, never mind. My lighter is not with me. It's no longer with us. No, my lighter is over there in my shorts pocket. Not. God damn it! I was gonna light a candle or something for illustration, but I'll just use this flashlight, I guess. I wasn't gonna light paper on fire in my room. That would be a terrible idea. But anyway, we've got a flashlight. That's our, yeah, and a spear. Yeah, spear. Yeah, get off my lawn. Yeah, stabby. That's what they're doing. Okay. There's our illustration. So anyway, they were pushing down tables ahead of them down the hall, hoping to corner all the workers in one spot. Their goal was to seize the soldiers in the ranks of the workers' horses. After they had grabbed about 40 soldiers and locked them in a separate room, they said they wanted to negotiate. The workers, cornered at the end of the floor, sent delegates over to talk. But as soon as they came face to face with the students said, "Who will talk with you?" and arrested them too. One man, Ho Boji, a communist, stepped forward to try once more. "Who sent you here?" the students asked. "Was it young Yu Fu?" "No, Chairman Mao sent me," said Ho. "You should listen to Chairman Mao." "We only listen to Koi Da Fu," retorted the students. Of course. A strong man grabbed Ho, hit him over the head with a flashlight. Bonk. Having knocked him out and opened a bad cut over one eye. I don't have a bad cut over one eye, but I have this tiny paper cut sized little, can you even see that? That's the closest I have to the bad cut, dragged him by the feet the whole length of the corridor. I can't drag myself by the feet, sorry. For illustration, not gonna work. And down the stairs from the 4th floor to the 1st. Ho's head bumped on every step all the way down. When he reached the bottom, he was unconscious. No shit. When he came to, he called out, "Long live Chairman Mao." When his captor heard this, he tried to choke him. Ho still managed to gasp, "Use reason, not violence. Use reason, not violence." His captor then stuffed a towel into his mouth. When the towel also failed to silence him, his tormentor, who turned out not to be a student, but one of the lumpen brawlers from dormitory number 10, moved to gouge out his eyes. This stirred to action several student rebels who up to this point had looked on but dared not intervene. "Why should you be so cruel?" they shouted. "What crime has been committed?" They pulled the would-be torturer away and scuffled with him long enough to allow Ho to escape from the building. Han Zhongxian was not so lucky. The Red Spears surprised him in a second-floor room, talking with a shopmate. A girl student held a burning torch high as several of her comrades rushed in to seize the pair. One of the attackers ran a spear right through Han's chest, severing an artery. The wounded man made it to the door before he collapsed. His companion took him on his back, but before he could reach the stairway, Han was dead. His clothes and the clothes of his would-be rescuer were soaked in blood. The July 3rd order which he carried was also soaked. Han was 36, a communist, and a member of the Revolutionary Committee of Food Factory No. 1. Li Wenyuan, the 5th worker to die that day, was killed by a bullet. He was standing guard not more than a few yards from the edge of the cornfield where the Red Spears had hidden themselves before the attack. A pistol shot caught him in the stomach and severed an artery. He was taken to the hospital at Haidian too late to be saved. Li was also 36, a communist, a militiaman, and a model worker in the rubber factory. Firing guns into the air, waving spears, and swinging hand grenades around their fingers by the trigger strings, the militants of the Red Spears fighting team drove the workers from the 4th floor to the 1st, then retreated upstairs and barricaded the stairwell with bricks, stones, and bottles of sulfuric acid. While the workers down below continued to carry on their propaganda work, the students up above sat in sullen silence and waited for dawn. Dawn brought more rain. The campus, with tens of thousands of people milling about and dissolved in mud. 100 soldiers came to building number 9003 to tell the students about the ceasefire agreement. The students released their soldier prisoners who had been stripped and beaten, but did not dare come out themselves. They knew that the chemical workers were angry about the casualties of the night before, and they feared retaliation. It was only after the soldiers persuaded the workers to withdraw at least 3 yards from the door, brought trucks for the students to ride away in, and promised to guard the roads all the way out, that the students finally agreed to tear down their barricades, surrender their weapons, and come out. Even then, they did not dare stand up in the trucks. They lay flat so the workers along the road could not see them. After the unprovoked assault they had mounted, they could not believe there would be no revenge. Furthermore, Kawai had diligently spread rumors that the workers were arming for a counterattack and would soon return to the campus with weapons. His followers, having never experienced anything like this peaceful encirclement, were prepared to believe that violent assaults would in the end be met with violence. As the Red Spears abandoned building number 9003 at 10 a.m., the last off-campus militants quietly left dormitory number 10 in groups of 2 or 3. They slipped away through the ruins of Yuan. With the last pockets of resistance liquidated, more than 100 days of fighting at Jinghua came to an end. See, this is a good part of the book to be reading for the almost Halloween stream. It's a horror story, but in real life. Kawai Dafu, the man more responsible than any other for the violence, left the campus soon after the 2 a.m. broadcast and went by car to the telegraph office. There he drafted and sent off the message already quoted and proceeded to the Aeronautical Institute, where propaganda team members who had been looking for him all over the city finally found him. They were looking for him in order to transmit Mao's personal request that he and the 4 other well-known Beijing student leaders appear for a discussion. In the small hours of July 28th, Mao Zedong met with Kawai Dafu, Pan Holan, Wang Dabin, Han Aijing, and Nie Yuanzi, and spoke to them bluntly. He told Kawai that he was swollen in the head. In fact, he was swollen all over. He was turning into his opposite. University and institute peoples had said they wanted to begin the struggle, criticism, transformation stage, but had pushed on to armed fighting instead. They had divorced for themselves from the workers, the peasants, the local populace, and from the majority of their own peers. If they persisted in fighting, they would turn into bandits. They would have to be surrounded and wiped out. Mao outlined 4 possible consequences of continued fighting. 1, the campus could be placed under military control. 2, the fighting could continue until one side won. 3, the school could be divided into 2 parts. Or 4, the whole school could be dissolved. The last choice, he said, would be struggle, criticize, dissolve. If it came to division, one part of the school would be sent north, the other part would be sent south. Hold on, do we have a photo of Mao meeting with them? I have a Mao photo with I don't know. I don't know if this is actually I don't know how old this photo is, or like this might not be from this might be from a different meeting. But if anyone is Kawai Dafu in the photo, it's this guy. Because that's the only person in the photo that looks even close to Kawai Dafu. But he's not wearing his glasses, so I don't know. I mean, maybe he was wearing contacts, or he just didn't wear his glasses that day. I don't know. Boy. Yeah, I don't know. The hair kind of maybe matches, I guess. Yeah, that might be him. Anyway. If it came to division, one part of the school would be sent north, the other part would be sent south. Did that make any sense? To continue fighting after the July 3rd order could not be allowed. Therefore, if they refused to listen to the propaganda team, they would be faced with military occupation. Taking up the charge made by Kawai that the workers' propaganda team was manipulated by a sinister hand, Mao said, "If you were looking for a sinister hand, I am that sinister hand. I sent the team. You will have to blame me." But even the face-to-face meeting with Chairman Mao did not win Kawai over. Yeah, I figured. He's too far gone, y'all. He returned to the campus saying that Mao's words had been, 100,000 workers invade Tsinghua. The Fours are happy. The regiment is unhappy. And I, too, am unhappy. He just made shit up. He just keeps lying, y'all. Thus, when the workers and soldiers called to the holdouts in Building 9003, Mao Zedong criticized you when he meant Kuai. They answered, no, Mao supported us. And when the workers said that Mao had summoned Kuai, the holdouts replied, not at all. Mao received Kuai. It was the exchanges such as this that postponed the evacuation of the building until 10 a.m. When the regiment rods fled the campus in the middle of the night, they finally suffered some of the casualties which the workers' propaganda team, in spite of all provocation, had refused to inflict. 20 hardcore rebels fled toward Chanping County at a breakneck pace in a small truck. Afraid that squads of workers would follow and attack them, those in the rear of the truck sat with grenade strings in hand, ready to let fly at the slightest provocation. The truck went out of control, hit a tree, and turned over. One of the grenades went off, killing 2 and wounding several, including Little Bear. Oh, damn. Oh, she's dead, Hill. Oh, wait, no, she's still alive. Sorry. Or she was still alive in 1973 when this book was published. 5 years after. Sorry. Including Little Bear, the girl who had so tantalized the hungry workers with her full bowl of noodles. Her leg was broken and her skull was crushed. To this day, she has a plastic plate in her head, but she has made her peace with the workers and now operates a lathe at the machine tool factory number 1. Do you think Little Bear is still alive? With her crushed skull? Formerly crushed skull, now reconstructed, apparently. Once again, she would be 75-ish now. I mean, it's possible she's still alive, maybe. Let's see here, we're on page 351. What is her actual name? I hope so. That's cute. Oh my god, dude. What the fuck? I like bears. I saw some bears recently. I went to a place recently. Yeah, we don't know who she is. We don't know her actual name. We know Bear's name, Wu Wei Ting. Okay, we don't know Little Bear's name. I like how her sole claim to fame in the entire book is the fact that she ate the noodles. Oh my god. Where were we? 350 something. Alright, we were on the... yeah, here. Hold on, let me show you a picture of the bear. I saw a bear. It wasn't a little one though, it was a black bear, which are relatively small in the world of bears, but you know, it was a pretty decently sized black bear, although one of them was named Little. I'm not sure which one is which, to be honest. They're all small. I mean, they're black bears, they're not that big. They're still bears, though. They're decently sized, at least. They're not like baby black bears. They were full-sized bears, okay? Here, I found a picture of the bear. Okay, that's the bear that I saw. I went to this, like, science museum place that also has a large outdoor section, and they have some, like, endangered species from this area and whatnot, including, wolves. I saw a wolf, a woofer. I saw a woofer, a big woofer, as well. Not a subwoofer, a big woofer, a dom woofer, if you will. Oh boy. Anyway, let's see here. So, Little Bear is now a lathe operator. Okay, she's doing machinery. She's making round things, possibly with threads on them, or not. A super woofer. Yeah, a super woofer. It was a nice woof. It was a very nice wolf. Yeah, it's funny that I say woof, and it and the captions think I'm saying wolf, which is pronounced differently than woof. Woof is what a dog says in English. Wolf is a wolf. That's a different thing. A wolf is not a dog. A wolf is is like a big scary dog. Well, they're not scary. They're very cute actually. They're fluffy and big, and they will attack you if you are not too careful. But they're nice. I like wolves. Wolves. That's yeah. Wolf and woof are not pronounced the same, and yet my captions refuse to say the word woof. W-O-O-F. I like how it finally gets it. Woof, not wolf. Woof. There's an L in wolf. Wolf. Not woof. Gosh. Okay, anyway. Teaching the captions slowly but surely. So, those who did not flee but surrendered to the propaganda team turned over considerable quantities of weapons. The complete list of the arms collected from both factions follows. Hold on, I don't suppose we actually have a... Maybe there's a picture of Little Bear. Maybe there is a picture of her. I mean, we don't even know who she is, but... Maybe someone... No, I don't think so. No. I think they do have some... I don't know, do they have like a... Wait, hold on. Is their mascot actually a bear, though? No, okay. I think... I'm seeing some... somebody made a teddy bear that has a Tsinghua University t-shirt on it. Okay. Well, what does the fox say? It says Massachusetts. That's what the fox says. Anyway, so those who did not flee but surrendered to the propaganda team turned over considerable quantities of weapons. The complete list of the arms collected from both factions follows. It includes not only those arms found on July 27th and 28th, but everything found thereafter. 5 semi-automatic rifles, 57 rifles. There's no... We're not sure. I assume 57 just rifles, not semi-automatic rifles, probably means bolt-action rifles, which were probably quite common. I mean, they still are, but I mean, they were probably especially common. In China at the time, I assume. Anyway, 31 pistols, 12 homemade rifles, 5 small-bore rifles, 5 air guns, 1,038 bullets, 688 hand grenades, 52 homemade cannons, 9 explosive satchels for anti-tank use, 168 homemade mines, 16 packages of dynamite, 2 homemade tanks, tractors with armored plate, so 2 killdozers, 50 bottles of poisonous gas, 185 bottles of acid and other corrosive chemicals, 15 big knives and bayonets, 1,435 spears, 380 short knives, 9 steel whips made of fine chain, 25 cannon shells, 2 Type 59 semi-automatic rifles, and 1 Type 56 assault gun. An automatic rifle, or whatever. It says Tommy gun, so it's a small one. But anyway, homemade cannons, rifles, mines, killdozers. Oh, hell yeah. You say, oh, hell yeah, but... Many of these arms had been made on the campus. Others had been seized outside Beijing and sent to Tsinghua by liaison personnel or by factional supporters to other places. To sum up these statistics once again, altogether, 5 workers were killed, 143 were seized and beaten, and 731 were seriously hurt. 3 years later, a wounded worker still remained in the hospital, and many still suffered from bullets in their bodies or permanent crippling. Chapter 20. End Factionalism. Ending the fighting was not the same thing as ending factionalism. It took the propaganda team less than 24 hours to suppress the violence, but more than 3 weeks to persuade the students to form a big alliance. And even then, the alliance was more formal than real. A whole year of careful political work was required before the militants of both sides came together. I retract my earlier hell yeah. Yeah? God. A whole year of careful political work was required before the militants of both sides came together in their thinking. And 2 years after that, the propaganda team was still at Tsinghua, supervising the transformation of its education. Of course, not all of the 30,000 workers who arrived on July 27th stayed on to complete this political task. Most of them withdrew on July 28th, leaving behind a team of several hundred that included delegates from each participating plant. They continued to work under the leadership of Wang Jun and Lu Fangjun, and rotated back to their original jobs as others came out to take their places for 6 or 12-month stints. Wang Jun is... let's see here. The author, Bill, probably means Zhang Rongwen here, as the two of them led the workers' propaganda team. Okay, thank you, editor. The first problem of the propaganda team faced, or that the propaganda team faced, was to prove its nonpartisanship. The Fours, who had welcomed intervention, tried very hard to win support by declaring their undying love for the workers and denouncing the regiment rods for their violent resistance. They invited propaganda team members to a series of meetings where the regiment was exposed and repudiated. But the team members, once they learned the content of the meetings, refused to attend. Their position was that the rank and file of both organizations were honest revolutionaries, that the leaders of both had made serious mistakes, and that each side must first make self-criticisms before criticizing the other. When asked for their opinion and their position vis-a-vis the two sides, they responded only with support for Mao Zedong thought. Whoever does things that are in accord with Mao Zedong thought, we support. Whoever does things that are not in accord with Mao Zedong thought, we criticize and help to change. Whoever does things that violate Mao Zedong thought, we oppose and resolutely fight against. And of course, remember here that Mao Zedong thought just means whatever we think. If you support the correct direction today, we will support you. If you oppose the correct direction, we will oppose you. If on one question you support Mao Zedong thought, we will support you on that question. If at the same time you oppose Mao Zedong thought on another question, we will oppose you on that. I mean, although to be fair, the workers' propaganda team was probably significantly more in line with actual Mao Zedong's actual thoughts than either of the student factions at this point. Although certainly I think the Fours were a little bit more in line than the regiment. Just gonna put that out there. Any regiment supporters in chat? Anyone want to tell me that Kwai Dafu was actually correct? Oh boy. He was the real vanguard. He was the core. This position stunned the Fours, for they assumed that they had survived the fighting as heroes. It gave the regiment a new lease on life. After all, they reasoned, perhaps we do have some political capital. In neither case did it quickly lead to self-critical examination, for each side was still primarily interested in justifying its own record and in exposing the record of the other. Before any review of the past could begin, several pressing problems of social order had to be solved. The students who had fled the campus had to be persuaded to return. The prisoners held by each side had to be released. Kauai was the true anarcho-nihilist resistance. Oh my god, no. Also, it's Kauai. No. Anyway. Not Kwai. Kauai. Anyway. Kauai. Anyway. Let's see here. So the prisoners held by each side had to be released. The arms each side still concealed had to be turned in, and the equipment, most of it electronic sound equipment, seized by the opposing sides from public stocks, had to be returned. All of these problems seemed insuperable. What? To the students? Okay, insuperable. To the students who had been involved in the fighting, but the propaganda team attacked them with energy and optimism. A large number of the regiment fighters had fled to the Aeronautical Institute in the early morning hours of July 28th. That very evening, a high-level team of cadres that included Xie Fuji, head of the Beijing Revolutionary Committee, went to the institute to persuade these Tsinghua refugees to return. More than 300 of them listened respectfully to Comrade Xie and responded to his appeal with slogans of support for Chairman Mao that indicated how little the events of the past 24 hours had educated them. Kawaii. Yeah, different. Yeah, no. Yeah, kawaii. Not the kawaii. Oh, kawaii. Oh boy. Do I have anything that is cute around here? I have... Here. Sharky over here. He's cute. Let's stay here. One young woman, red band on her arm, military belt around her waist, book bag over her shoulder, and two short braids protruding almost at right angles from under a military-style cap, led the cheering with Jinggongshan Regiment people will be loyal to Mao Zedong forever. Jinggongshan Regiment people have acted correctly from the beginning to the end. No, you haven't. Shut the fuck up. It's not a blow high. It's custom handmade, okay? It's a tsundere shark, okay? Anyway. It's totally different from a blow high. Oh my god. One of my partners got a blow high recently. They went to IKEA. They got one. I hope they should bring it over here if they come visit, and we can make the Sharkies kiss. Oh my god. Let's see here. Let's see here. Oh boy. So anyway, you know what I really wish I had for the Halloween, not quite Halloween costume for this stream is a full, like, Red Guard outfit. That would have been great. Or at least the little, the military cap. Who's that guy on, YouTube? The YouTuber Tea House Ghost, okay? So, welcome to, we're not talking about tea, or forget the Cultural Revolution. No, I'm just gonna, so there's this guy who he's like, I don't know, his dad's Chinese or something or whatever, he lives in Texas, and he starts every video with "Ni howdy, y'all." Ni howdy, I guess, I don't know. And he has one of the little caps. Whoops. Let me find his channel for y'all. This, if you want to learn about tea, this is a decent channel to check out, I guess. Anyway, he has a whole bunch of videos explaining various types of tea and how he brews tea and stuff like that. But yeah, at some point he had the whole, like, I don't think he had like a full Red Guard outfit, but he at least had the hat, which was really funny. He has a lot of outfits. I like this guy. I'll see. I wonder if I can find a video where he has. The problem is it's going to be difficult to find. Oh, he has a video on Heicha, so I'm wondering if that would be the one, because Mao's favorite tea, I don't have very much, or I might have run out of it, was, no, okay, no, that video does not have, he does not have the cap. Oh, I wonder if there's... He might have had a separate episode just for Fubrick tea. maybe? But anyway, Mountain Mau's favorite tea is also one of my favorite teas, and I used to have some. I had a whole kilogram brick of it. It was quite cheap, actually, $70 for a kilogram, which is a very good price for tea. That's very good. I need to get more. Anyway, I am trying to find any video of this guy wearing the PLA cap, or whatever it is that he has. I think it's his dad's, maybe. I don't know. Whatever. I can't find it. But anyway, that thinking about at least the little PLA caps, the old ones, made me think about that guy, because I'm obsessed with tea, so as you can see. So anyway, back to reading. Let's see here. So anyway, before the meeting closed, this firebrand and her comrades had at least agreed to return to the campus so that negotiations could begin. In the course of the next day and evening, they dribbled back in 2s and 3s to repopulate dormitory number 10. But until arms had been surrendered and prisoners exchanged, there was not much hope that the many thousands of students, staff, and workers would return. They had to be convinced that the peace was stable before they would move back to the scene of such protracted and bitter conflict. Even if one no longer ran the danger of being hit by some random hard object, there was still the possibility that one might be seized and held hostage by one side or the other. Hence, an effective prisoner exchange became the key to any return to normal. Even to set up talks on the subject was difficult, however. Neither side trusted the other. Lu Fengzheng told us how he managed to arrange the first meeting. I personally went to notify the force that they should come to talk about prisoners. I didn't know my way around. How would I find any of their leaders? I started walking in the direction of the new main building. Suddenly, a girl appeared in the bushes outside. "Where are you going, PLA?" she asked. "Who are you?" I asked in turn, somewhat startled. "I'm from the force," she replied. It turned out that she was Zhang Xuemei, a member of the headquarters committee, who was taking her turn out on sentry duty. As soon as she heard that I was from the propaganda team headquarters, she began to praise the PLA to the skies. When I said I wanted to talk to the force leaders, she quickly arranged it, and they all began to talk at once about how the regiment had wrecked the Big Alliance of 1967. "Never mind the past," I said. "Let's try to get together again now. I want you to meet with some regiment leaders in the agricultural engineering building." But they didn't dare venture that far across the campus. They were afraid that the regiment would capture them. I had to guarantee their safety and take them over and back in military cars. Regimental leaders, on their part, were also afraid to meet. They were afraid that once they showed their faces, the masses would rise up and seize them for repudiation. So I had to guarantee a PLA guard all around the meeting place as well. After much hard work and persuasive talk, I finally got the meeting underway on August 7th. Oh boy. At this preliminary get-together, both sides agreed to exchange the captives they already held, and not to seize any more captives, no matter what the provocation. They also agreed to give good care to all captives before the final exchange, and not to allow any to escape. All of this was settled after long debate, but the time and place of the exchange was not agreed upon. Comrade Lu wanted action then and there, but the factional leaders held out for consultations with their membership. The meeting broke up without final agreement, and soon afterward both sides violated clauses they had just agreed to honor. There we go. My honor! The regiment seized 2 more of the 4s, while the 4s allowed 2 members of the regiment to escape. As a result, the second meeting opened with a serious quarrel, each side denouncing the other for the flagrant violations of the night before. When the 4s accused the regiment of seizing 2 4s, the regiment charged 4s with holding 2 regiment people while pretending they had escaped. "But they ran back to your headquarters," said the 4s, amazed. "We haven't seen them. How do you know we aren't still holding them?" retorted the regiment. This problem was resolved by the members of the propaganda team, who knew very well that the 2 regiment prisoners had returned to their faction. They exposed the regiment lie, causing its spokesman to lose face. Thereafter, the talks went a little more smoothly. The propaganda team immediately demanded full lists of the prisoners held by each side. Both the 4s and the regiment balked. "We don't just search the campus, or why don't we just search the campus and release everyone we find," suggested Kuai Dafu, who had long since shifted his prisoners to far-off Nankou. But don't you have prisoners off campus? Asked the workers. Kawhi had to admit that he did. We demand the release of Luo Zhengqi, said the Fours, knowing full well that he had already escaped to Guangzhou. On the list they had presented, his name came first. Is this accurate? Dare you sign your name to this? Asked the workers, fully aware of Luo's whereabouts. Well, we're not 100% sure, said the Fours. Oh, boy. Great, just wonderful. Alright, I'm gonna take a quick break and then we'll return with the prisoner exchange negotiations in just a few minutes or so. Be right back. Remember, if you need to shit. If you need to fart. You'll feel better for it. Alright. We're back, theoretically. I think we're back. We are so back. Oh boy. Whew. Alright. Back to prisoner negotiations. Let's see here. On August 9th, late in the evening, agreement was finally reached on the prisoner question. Early the next morning, before sunrise, cadres of the propaganda team got the leaders of both sides out of bed. Any delay in effecting the exchange, they reasoned, would give both the force and the regiment time to move some prisoners to new hiding places, and thus abort the whole deal. The entire regiment headquarters committee was loaded onto trucks bound for Nankou, where the regiment prisoners were held, while the force leaders led the way across the campus to the building that served as their prison. One clever member of the regiment headquarters committee fooled Lu Fengzhen, however. He lingered beside the truck talking until it pulled away without him. Lu Fengzhen talked to him a while and then let him go back to his dorm, thinking that this one fellow would not matter. But as soon as this rod got away from Comrade Lu, he found a telephone and called Nankou, alerting the regiment there to what was happening. By the time the prisoner exchange group arrived, 2 of the 7 people held had already disappeared. I wasn't vigilant enough, said Lu. But in the main, we had planned well. We knew that they had over 100 people there, so we went in force. We sent about 300 along. Feeling that they might resist with arms, as they had done only a few days before on the campus, we were organizationally prepared. In case any one of us got killed, someone else was designated to take his place. The regiment people at Nankou were real rods. They wanted no part of any study classes. They were capable of anything. Sure enough, when we arrived at the compound, there was wire all around, and the inner wire was charged. We had to negotiate even to get inside. Kuai Dafu, Chan Yuyan, and Chan Jifeng, 3 top leaders of the regiment had come with us. What the people at the gate wanted to do was to let Kuai in to negotiate, then stall us outside. We didn't buy it. We insisted on entering altogether. So after hours of arguing, they had to let us in. By that time, it was already afternoon. What we found inside was shocking. The place was worse than any jail. Steel sheets had been welded to the doors on each floor of the building, and the doors were banked with sandbag fortifications. All the rooms had iron bars in the windows. All 5 of the prisoners that we released were pale from malnutrition. One was very sick and had to be carried to the truck. He says worse than any jail, but has he seen American jails? Or, American, undocumented immigrants holding facilities, or whatever the fuck you want, concentration camps? That's what they are. I don't know, man. One was very sick and had to be carried to the truck. The prisoners had been sleeping on the bare floor. Even in the hot July weather, they had to keep their jackets on. Food. 1 manteau, a bun of steamed bread, a day, and a bowl of cold water had been passed in through a small hole in the door. When they saw us, they shook with fright. They thought we were some new jailers who would take them somewhere else to be tortured. When they learned we were propaganda team members sent by Mao Zedong, they were overjoyed. They shouted, "Long live Chairman Mao! Down with fascist torturers!" I believe the liberal term is detention center. Ah, yes, that's the... Well, when Trump was president, they were concentration camps, but as soon as Biden became president, the liberals changed the name to detention centers and said that Biden needs to finish building the wall. I understand. Yes. We confronted Kuai with these crimes, but he said he knew nothing about them. The masses did it, he said. When we learned that 2 of the one Li Rao clique had been removed to another place, we were very angry. What Kuai had done was to order Li Kong and Wen Xuemi sent to the Beijing Garrison Command to be arrested and held as counter-revolutionaries. Luo Zhengqi had already escaped. We brought him back later from Guangzhou. So the only one of the clique liberated that day was Rao Weiqi, or Weiqi, that's Weiqi, right? I think the C is just, yeah, Rao Weiqi. She was in terrible shape with such a bad wound on her rump that she could neither sit down nor stand up for long. Her bodily functions were damaged. She couldn't control her bladder, and her back had been hurt. All of this had affected her mind. She remembered the past with difficulty. When when the Beijing Garrison Command returned Wen Shui-mi to the campus, he was all but deaf and his teeth were gone. Pulled out by his regiment captors at Nankou. They demanded confessions from him, and each time he didn't comply, out would come another tooth. The entire case against these four was a frame-up. The regiment used torture to extract confessions, and then used Li's words against Luo and Luo's words against Li, backed up with 20 different methods of punishment. Confessions were manufactured one sentence at a time on tape recorders, and then patched together to make damning admissions which what the sentences on their own did not imply. This whole frame-up was a counter-revolutionary act. The regiment leaders assured everyone that if the four were not counter-revolutionary, then they themselves were. And if they themselves were revolutionary, then the four were counter-revolutionary. It must be one or the other, they claimed. Apparently, it was the former, for behind all this ugly business lay a concerted attempt to bombard the proletarian headquarters, to bombard Mao Zedong. Actually, the person in charge in Nankou was not a Tsinghua student, but one of the outsiders, a specialist in torture who turned out to have a counter-revolutionary record. Factionalism made it easy for people like that. They used the blind hatred of the factional leaders to take class revenge. Most of the rank and file, after they listened to our explanations, welcomed our coming, even clapped and gave us a send-off when we left. It was 8 a.m. when we got back to the campus, but right then and there all the prisoners in our hands were exchanged in front of the generator building, with each side checking to make sure the exchange was fair. This, said one of the fours, shook everyone up. Here was a problem that could not possibly be solved. We had been deadlocked over the prisoner question for more than a year, yet by the evening of August 9th it was solved. After this, many people, both students and staff, returned to the university from all over the country. Some had received letters of the propaganda team, from the propaganda team. Others heard of the new situation through the grapevine. They came dribbling back. A few today, more tomorrow, and gradually re-established a more normal campus life. Less murder, I imagine. On the heels of the prisoner exchange, a major search for arms was organized. And every building, every corner, every foot of ground was checked. Everyone on the campus was mobilized for this. Twice as many arms were found as had been turned over on the evening of July 27th. Even so, when the campus stream was later excavated for its rich load of fertilizer, still more arms were found lying deep in the mud. It is probable that some arms still remain in secret hiding places. As for the sound equipment seized by the two factions, the propaganda team didn't make an issue of this until it became obvious that loudspeakers in factional hands made mass meetings difficult if not impossible to run. From the beginning, the team had used the broadcast facilities manned by the regiment in the Bright House. This comprehensive system made it easy to relay speeches live to the whole campus. But somehow it always worked out that when regiment people spoke, the system worked beautifully, but when anyone else spoke, static drowned out their words. Regiment technicians made frequent apologies as they busied themselves looking for the technical difficulties, but the team leaders soon decided that the difficulties, far from being technical, were political. They demanded and got the surrender of the whole system. After that, everyone could be heard. Chapter 21, Big Alliance. 2. Electric Boogaloo. As people came back to the pacified campus, they were assigned to political study groups in their respective departments, each department in turn having been assigned to one or another column of the workers' propaganda team. Column 1, Metal Workers, took over the basic courses at the clinic. Column 2, Instrument Workers, supervised the Department of Automation. Column 3, Machinists, took over Mechanical Engineering, and Column 4, Textile Workers, assumed responsibility for Mathematics, Physics, Radio Engineering, and Water Conservation. Considering how wild textiles are as a discipline, I can see that for real. I mean, you definitely need math, you need materials science. Don't know about the radio engineering. Water conservation? I mean, maybe there could be ways of growing cotton or something that conserve water. I don't know. Not sure about the radio engineering, but Column 5, Construction Workers, took over Civil Engineering, Power, and Agricultural Engineering. But yeah, it actually makes sense for the Textile Workers to be in charge of math and possibly physics of some description. People, not sure if people understand how fucking wild textiles gets. Anyway, column 5, construction workers took over civil engineering, power, and agricultural engineering. Okay, fair enough. Column 6, chemical workers took over chemical engineering, industrial chemistry, and industrial physics. Column 7, state-owned, mixed, took over electrical engineering, while the direct regiment printers took over the administrative offices of the whole university and the old Communist Party committee. Everyone, students, members of the teaching staff, workers in the maintenance department, was expected to take part in one class or another, but some were reluctant to do so. This was especially true of the members of the regiment who had fought so hard. They were afraid that the propaganda team would take revenge. One engineering student reported to his class the first morning only to find that it was led by a lathe worker whom he had personally stabbed with a spear. He turned and ran. The worker ran after him, shouting, "Come back, we must settle accounts." Hearing this, the student ran even faster. "Come back, you little shit!" Textiles is that intensive? Maybe it's also about winding wire coils too. Textiles is wild, y'all. There's so much math involved. Oh my god. No, it's fucking wild. I don't know if I could do it. All the weaving and shit. There's so much math, y'all. Oh. Like, there are, like, textile mathematics is like an entire subdiscipline on its own. Here's the Wikipedia page on mathematics and fiber arts, in case you want to look a little bit into it. The apparently the IEEE, which is the electrical engineering Institute, okay, Institute of Electrical and Electronics Engineers, all of us who had electrical engineering degrees know about them. Well, apparently their magazine, or one of their magazines, posted or had a competition about, or several competitions about quilting. Anyway, there's just look through. There's a whole bunch of books about this shit. Like, it's totally wild. Honestly, let's see here. There's a big PDF here. I don't know. Yeah. Anyway. Yeah. Textiles are no joke. You need to do serious math for that shit. All right, let's see here. So, come back here, you little shit. We must settle accounts. Hearing this, the student ran even faster. When he was finally cornered, he was amazed to hear the worker say, "I don't mean to settle accounts with you personally. I'm not going to stab you back." Oh my god. Ugh. What we must do is study Mao Zedong thought together and settle accounts with Liu Shaoqi. The only reason you are swollen all over, as Chairman Mao said, is that you have been poisoned by Liu Shaoqi's line. That is why you used your spear on July 27th. You are misled by bad people. This student came from a working-class family. The lathe worker's magnanimity touched his heart. He returned to the class and in time became one of the staunchest advocates of a big alliance. It soon became apparent that with the factional leaders involved in the classes, little progress could be made. Whatever arguments the workers put forth during the day were refuted at night by the rods of each side. Let's see here. So special classes were organized for factional leaders, the members of the respective headquarters committees. They were all thrown together for study, but were isolated from the rank and file, who quickly accepted the idea of a big alliance and pushed for it from below. The leaders of both factions, sensing that this isolation could only lead to disaster for their ambitions, tried hard to leave certain less well-known broads down among the ranks to carry on factional agitation. But the members of the propaganda team were well informed as to who had played what role, and when they found a rod trying to slip into the rank-and-file classes, they sent him or her back to the leadership class. Rank and filers on both sides who wanted unity helped with this. When they saw a factional leader in a regular class, they called out, "What are you doing here? Go back to your own class." The campus workers, who met in several classes of their own, very quickly formed an alliance between those among themselves who had supported the regiment and those who had supported the Fours. They said that in the future they would never follow student partisans again, and they pushed hard for their leaders to form an alliance at the top. These leaders, who had all along manned factional workers' headquarters that paralleled the students' two opposite headquarters, were also singled out for separate study. When they found that their followers really wanted an alliance, they gave up factional positions much more quickly than did the students. The propaganda team purposefully threw the leaders of both factions together for study and for daily living. At first, particularly with students, this didn't work at all. People from opposite sides refused to sit near each other in class and refused to speak to each other in the dormitories or at meals. If there were two from each side of the room, or each side in a room, these two spoke to each other or gathered with others of their faction in the hall and whispered conferences, but they would have nothing to do with their roommates from the other faction. At night, when formal classes were over, the rods held factional meetings behind the campus hill or out in Yuanmingyuan. Thus, they reinforced one another in resisting the unity the team was promoting. As far as the... Get back to your remedial class. As far as the regiment was concerned, the Fours were counter-revolutionaries, Kuomintang reactionaries. As far as the Fours were concerned, the regiment people were nothing but Kwai bandits, another form of Kuomintang reactionary. Neither side saw any basis for unity. If the propaganda team insisted on unity, then it could only happen after the rights and wrongs of the whole struggle had been argued out. In other words, only after the Fours granted and agreed that the regiment had been right all along, or vice versa, only after the regiment granted and agreed that the Fours had been right all along. The Fours kept repeating that the regiment had shot down peaceful workers. The regiment kept repeating that the Fours were led by a counter-revolutionary conspiracy, as was proved by the confessions of Luo Wen Li Rao. These confessions were copied ad nauseum and even posted in front of the propaganda team headquarters in order to force the team to take a stand. But the team refused to choose between the two factions and instead carried the water bowl level, insisting that in the main both sides were revolutionary and should get together. The regiment leaders then said that unity was possible if everyone recognized that the regiment's mountaintop was higher. That is, that the regiment had more members, more power, better politics, and more prestige. They definitely don't have better politics, y'all. Since the regiment was, long. Okay, I like this. Okay, xiang dang dang. Okay. Ringing clear like steel on steel, it must be the core. With the regiment as a core, a big alliance would be possible. Give the Fours, those old conservatives, a few posts to make them happy, then everything would work out. But the Fours were in no mood to recognize the regiment as the core of anything. The Fours insisted that in fact they had more support than the regiment, whose reputation, if truth were known, came only from doing extreme things, most of which were harmful. The Fours insisted that they had a solid base among the students, and much broader support among the lower cadres. This last was true, and so in any alliance they must carry greater weight, that is, they must be the core. The workers' propaganda team responded with arguments for unity. Don't the masses of both factions love Mao Zedong? Don't the masses of both factions support socialism? Since Chairman Mao started the Cultural Revolution, hasn't the goal of both sides been to overthrow the Liu Shaoqi clique? Well, they didn't really succeed on that part. Aren't the masses, if only they did. If only. And if only the fucking Gang of Four hadn't taken over after... Oh god, what a mess. What a mess. The whole thing is a mess, y'all. Aren't the masses of both sides committed to carrying the Cultural Revolution through to the end? Wasn't it actually bad people, suspicious characters who led both sides into violent fighting, and aren't there suspicious reactionary persons in each faction? Since to all these questions, the leaders and the rank and file of each side had to answer yes, the propaganda team said the theory of no common goal could not stand. While these issues were being debated in the study classes, events in the outside world stepped up the pressure for unity. Very important was the gift of mangoes, which Mao Zedong made to the workers' propaganda team. this is one of the things that the mango thing comes from. Okay, so let me explain. Mangoes are a fruit which grows a lot in Southeast Asia and other places. And so they're of course popular in China because they are delicious. They are popular in most places in the world these days because they are delicious. There are many different types of mangoes, but anyway, that's not particularly relevant. So these days, a bunch of liberals, I'm gonna call them liberals, and others have in the West have convinced themselves that Chinese people are obsessed with mangoes to the point that it's like a cult. Okay? They think that Chinese people are all part of a mango cult. I wish I was kidding, but this is an actual thing that real life people somehow believe. And of course, if they heard about this, and some of them probably have heard about this particular event, Mao giving these people mangoes, they would definitely be like, oh yeah, see, that's proof of the mango cult, the Chinese mango cult. Okay, I wish I was kidding, but this is actually what some people believe now. Yeah, it's complete bullshit, obviously. Like, it's one of the most ridiculous things I have heard recently. So many people come up with the fucking wildest shit to say about China, I swear. Oh my god. I wonder if the let me see if I can find an example of this on Reddit. I really do not want to search China mango cult on any search engine because it's just like, I don't want to contribute to this. I know that it's bullshit. I guess I'll have to search it. I'm searching China mango cult. So here it is. There is even a Wikipedia page about this, even though it's complete bullshit, right? This is people legitimately believe that there was a cult around the mangoes. Okay. They legitimately believe this to the point where there's legitimately an actual Wikipedia page about the mango cult, which didn't exist. It's not real. It's fake. It's complete bullshit. So this event is why people think that there was a cult around mangoes, okay, is because Mao gave these people mangoes, a few dozen mangoes. People legitimately believe that this generated an actual cult around mangoes, and it did not. This is a lie. This is complete bullshit, I'm telling you. Oh my god. So anyway, so Mao Zedong gave some mangoes to these people. Foreign Minister Arshad Hussain of Pakistan, who had arrived in Beijing on August 3rd, had given the chairman several dozen mangoes. Mao Zedong in turn sent the fruit to the team as a symbol of his support. Oh my god. At the same time, he issued a statement that in China, the working class was the leading class, and it should directly supervise the superstructure, and that the teams that had gone into selected universities should stay there and permanently to run higher education. So, like, I understand, like, so Bill here believes, okay, Bill is gonna talk about the mango cult, but it's not a cult. I don't know how to tell you this. The gift of mangoes and this statement of support had a profound effect. Few people slept at all that night. Everyone wanted to see and touch the mangoes that came directly from Chairman Mao, and everyone wanted to discuss this extraordinary idea that the propaganda teams, far from being a temporary emergency expedient, were a form of permanent supervision over higher education. If the workers could not contain their joy, most students and staff members were also carried along in the great wave of enthusiasm that Mao's act generated. The original mangoes were preserved, put in glass cases, and displayed in the reception rooms of key factories. Later, numerous models of these mangoes were made and displayed by all the other factories that had taken part in the pacification of Tsinghua. He says a veritable cult, but this is bullshit. I'm sorry. You cannot call this a cult. Come on. Arose around these mangoes. I'm sorry, Bill, but calling this a cult is just ridiculous. As if there was some religious relic, a hair of the Buddha, a nail from Christ's cross. Oh my god. I don't know how to explain how this isn't really the same thing as a cult. It's just like not. It's like, you know, it's a symbol of the ending of this bullshit violence. And people, like, I don't know how to, like, I feel like calling it a cult makes it sound kind of ridiculous, kind of like there's no reasonable reason, you know, no logical reason for them to do this, but there was. Anyway, so liberals these days believe that the mango cult is still a thing and has spread to the entirety of Chinese people in general, and that mangoes are like a secret cult symbol of China now, period, and that anyone who eats mangoes is secretly a Chinese spy or something. I don't even know. It's just... My point is, I know everyone wants to call it the mango cult, but it's just like, he posted cringe here. I know everyone wants to call it that, but it's just not fair to call it that. Like, oh, they're treated like religious relics. Like, y'all, these are historical artifacts. I'm sorry, I don't know how else to put this, but these are actual historical artifacts that have like real symbolic meaning in the actual real life events here. This isn't some religion. This didn't come from nowhere. Anyway, it was hard for us outsiders to understand the emotions which this gift aroused. It's not that hard. It's not that hard. Am I wrong? I find this very easy to understand. Like, yeah, the mangoes are a symbol of peace, basically. Like, because I don't know what to tell you, but this is pretty easy to figure out. It's just not that hard to understand. But when we learned of the horror and the heroism of those 24 hours between July 27th and July 28th, when workers stood with their red books in hand, saw 5 of their comrades killed and more than 700 wounded, and never broke their nonviolent discipline, the response began to come into focus. Do you see? See, he's like, okay, fine, I get it. Do you see? Once you actually know the background to the mango thing, you realize that it's ridiculous to, like, make fun of it. What they did made sense. I don't know what to tell you. The result, of course, as far as the Tsinghua students were concerned, was greatly to increase the pressure from below for an alliance to be agreed upon by the factional leaders. On August 15th, Chairman Mao moved again by holding a reception for the workers' propaganda team. Mass meetings were held at Tsinghua to celebrate, and the students shouted until they were hoarse. Long live Chairman Mao! Chairman Mao's reception for the workers' propaganda team gives us infinite encouragement, and similar statements or sentiments. If you really mean that, then show it through action, the team members told the students. Show it by forming a big alliance. The students responded with demands on their leaders for a big alliance right away. Bowing to pressure, the factional leaders met in an all-night session while the rank and file watched. If you don't agree, we'll never leave, shouted the masses. Under these conditions, there was no way out, short of an organizational merger. Nevertheless, the negotiations lasted until dawn. The leaders of the fours and the regiment couldn't agree on representation, and they couldn't agree on a name. They couldn't agree on a quote from Chairman Mao to introduce their proclamation, and they couldn't agree on who should head their new united organization. Just to settle the name question took hours. The fours wanted to call the new group the Tsinghua University Big Alliance Committee. They had originally borne the name Jingangshang April 14th Regiment, but the Jingangshang designation had more and more come to be associated with the regiment and not with the fours, so now they wanted to drop both words altogether. The regiment rods would not hear of this. They were known as the Jingangshanners and were proud of it. In the end, they agreed to drop the word regiment from the title, but to retain Jinggangshan. The two organizations would be called the new organization would be called the Tsinghua University Jinggangshan Big Alliance Committee. Having settled that name at last, they began to quarrel over representation. At that time, the most important thing in the world would to the factional leaders seemed to have a controlling seat on the leading body of the Big Alliance Committee. The regiment at first demanded a 9-4 advantage. The fours held out for 50-50. Then the regiment, knowing that the propaganda team would not agree, suddenly said that 4-9 would also be right. Or would also be alright. What does representation matter? The fours still held out for 50-50. The propaganda team finally suggested 16 for the regiment, 15 for the fours. This broke the deadlock, and this is what was agreed. Then they had to settle who should be the chairman. Kuai said, "Let Shenru Huai be the chairman." Shenru Huai said, "Let Kuai Dafu be the chairman." This, of course, was only a method of saving face. Each knew that his followers would push his own candidacy to the end. Finally, since Kuai Dafu's reputation was truly much greater than Shun's, they decided that Kuai should be chairman and Shun vice chairman. With the question of top leadership settled, the makeup of the committee down below was not too difficult to resolve. Then the negotiators finally fell to quarreling over what quotation to use from Chairman Mao's works. The fours wanted to use this statement: "The Revolutionary Red Guards and Revolutionary Students' Organizations should realize the Revolutionary Great Alliance. So long as both sides are revolutionary mass organizations, they should realize the Revolutionary Great Alliance in accordance with revolutionary principles." But the regiment wouldn't hear of this. Regiment leaders said that any quote would do, but not that one. In their view, the unity being forged that night was purely one of expediency. They were not really willing to grant that the fours were revolutionary, or that they had united with them on the basis of revolutionary principle. They proposed instead to use "you should pay great attention," or "you should pay attention to the state affairs, and carry the great proletarian cultural revolution through to the end, and we should encourage comrades to take the interests of the whole into account. Every party member, every branch of work, every statement, and every action must proceed from the interests of the whole party. It is absolutely impermissible to violate this principle." The implication of this choice of quotations was that even a temporary unity with counter-revolutionaries could be justified in the interests of the party as a whole, and so the regiment insisted on this. The fours reluctantly agreed, and at last, as the hot August sun rose over Tsinghua in the morning of August 17th, Bulletin Number 1 of the Tsinghua University Jinggangshan Big Alliance Committee was issued. The text, slightly abridged, follows. Highest directive. You should pay attention to state affairs and carry the great proletarian cultural revolution through to the end. Mao Zedong. We should encourage comrades to take the interests of the whole into account. Every party member, every branch of work, every statement, every action must proceed from the interests of the whole party. It is absolutely impermissible to violate this principle. Mao Zedong. The Tsinghua University Jinggangshan Revolutionary Big Alliance Committee of the Red Guards Representative Congress. Can they show just a shorter name? Guys. Bulletin Number 1. The news of our great leader Chairman Mao receiving the Beijing working class representatives and the publishing of Chairman Mao's new directives is like a strong east wind. It became the motive force pushing forward the great proletarian cultural revolution. The former two organizations at Tsinghua University, along with this sweeping east wind, closely following Chairman Mao's great strategic plan under the guidance of the invincible thought of Mao Zedong, with the help of the Capital Workers and Peasants Mao Zedong Thought propaganda team, realized a revolutionary big alliance based on revolutionary principles on August 16, 1968. This is another great victory for the invincible thought of Mao Zedong on the Tsinghua campus. The Tsinghua University Jinggangshan Revolutionary Big Alliance Committee now issues a Bulletin Number 1 as follows. Representatives of the two former factions of Tsinghua University, under the care of the great leader Chairman Mao, with the help of the Beijing Workers and Peasants Mao Zedong Thought propaganda team, fighting self and repudiating revisionism, after consulting, decided that the Tsinghua University Jinggangshan Revolutionary Alliance Committee is made up of representatives from former Jinggangshan Regiment headquarters: Kuai Dafu, Bao Chongkang, Wan Chuanzhong, Chang Yuyan, Wang Liangxiang, Xie Duning, Liu Saitang, Ma Xiazhuang, Chen Jifang, Zhang Xuechan, Wang Wenlin, Sui Jiaoxi, Fu Yuan, Sun Binghua, Gao Jihong, Gong Guoshang. Okay, those people, and of representatives from former Tsinghua Jinggangshan April 14th Regiment Headquarters: Shen Ruhuai, Su Chengzhong, Liu Wangzhang, Ji Peng, Wang Yongshan, Han Haoqiang, Chen Bangfu, Gao Jizhang, Jizhang, got it, Fu Zhengtai, Yin Zunsheng, Zhou Runlao, Li Yuanzhong, Chen Chusan, Guo Runquan, and Zhang Xuemei. Oh boy, that was not easy. Probably got most of those wrong. A daily work group is set up under the Tsinghua University Jinggongshan Revolutionary Big Alliance Committee. Say that 5 times fast. Made up of representatives from the former Tsinghua Jinggongshan Regiment headquarters, Kuai Dafu, but oh my god, there's more. Kuai Dafu, Bao Chongkang, Ruan Chuanzhong, Chan Yuyan, Wang Liangcheng, Xie Deming, and from Tsinghua April 14th Regiment headquarters, Shan Ruhuai, Su Changzhong, Liu Wangzhang, Ji Peng, Wang Yongxian, period. Okay. And Wang Yongcheng. Okay. Chairman of the group, Kuai Dafu. Vice Chairman, Shan Ruhuai. 3. The Tsinghua Jinggongshan Revolutionary Big Alliance Committee is going to continue to put into effect Chairman Mao's series of new directives and the July 3rd and July 24th orders, and also the various agreements that the former 2 factions had arrived at with the help of the capital workers and peasants Mao Zedong thought propaganda team. 4. The daily work of the Tsinghua University Jinggongshan Big Alliance Committee will be carried out by the Daily Work Group. 5. All members of the Tsinghua University Jinggongshan Revolutionary Big Alliance Committee must carry out Chairman Mao's great teaching. We should let every comrade be clear that all speech and actions of the communists must stick to the principle of the greatest interest of the broadest masses of the people and be supported by the broadest masses of the people. 6. The Tsinghua University Jinggongshan Revolutionary Big Alliance Committee must raise high the big red banner of Mao Zedong thought, put proletarian politics in command, closely follow Chairman Mao's great strategic plan, firmly control the main orientation of the struggle, thoroughly repudiate the reactionary theory of many centers, which is the bourgeois theory of no center, recognize in time and resolutely smash the obstruction and wrecking of the class enemy from the right and the ultra-left, further repudiate mountaintopism, what is that? Chateauji, okay, individualism, sectarianism, and all other manifestations of bourgeois world outlook, put up a thorough and uncompromising struggle against right-splitism, closely link with the masses, consolidate and develop the Revolutionary Big Alliance, promote the Revolutionary 3-in-1 combination, make great efforts to set up the 3-in-1 combination of red power at Tsinghua University, a revolutionary committee, strive to win all-round victory in the great proletarian cultural revolution, swear to transform Tsinghua University into a big red school of Mao Zedong thought. Committee of Red Guards Representative Congress and representatives of Beijing workers and peasants Mao Zedong thought propaganda team. Liu Yian, Jin Manying, Zhang Dejun, Ran Ximing, Wang Jiao, Wei Xiuru, that one is hard to say, Xiuru, okay, Liu Feng, Zhou Xiangshan, Xiang Shan, Tang Huiping, Ma Yuzhu, representatives of the Revolutionary Big Alliance Committee, Kuai Dafu, Bao Chongkang, Chan Qifang, Chan Yuyan, Wang Wenping, Shen Ruhuai, Liu Wangjiang, Wang Yongxian, Chan Bangfu, and Zhou Renlao. August 17th, 1968. Oh my god. Well, that was not easy. That was not easy to read. That was very long. And once this agreement was reached, Lu Fengzhen, one of the Beijing Garrison Command, tried to get Kuai Dafu and Shen Ruhuai to shake hands. They had not talked with one another except in official negotiations for over a year and a half. Even though they were now jointly in command of a united organization, they found it hard, very hard, to extend a hand in greeting. Finally, after much urging, they clasped palms weakly. This sealed an alliance, which all knew in their hearts was nothing more than a marriage of convenience, a form of shotgun wedding. Before this organizational unity could develop into ideological unity and provide the basis for a functioning revolutionary committee at Tsinghua, a lot more work had to be done. Easy for you to say. The workers' propaganda team, encouraged by the progress thus far, set out to consolidate the victory with a more vigorous program of study. A small beating incident that occurred on August 19th provided a good starting point from which to draw important lessons against factionalism. Okay.